I believe that I lost a couple of whips, which I am so sad about. Hello, happy August, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma, aka Midsummerknits, and today's video is going to be a podcast episode. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so I thought that it was long overdue for me to give a little update on what I've been working on, my FOs, my whips, my life situation, etc. So here we are. The first thing that I want to mention, which I already mentioned in last week's video, is that I am currently in the process of moving into this new apartment. So if you see a little bit of chaos in the background, that's why. For example, this bookcase here, I haven't quite set up yet, but I think I'm gonna do that this weekend. So I'm hoping by next week my background is a little bit more cleaned up. That being said, I think this is definitely an upgrade from last week's setup because I have shoved all of the boxes in one corner and you can no longer see them. Just to be honest, I am moving into this place by myself, so it has been a little bit harder for me to get everything completely set up on my own, especially when it comes to like moving big furniture. It can be a little bit tricky, but I have friends to help me as well as my parents are coming to help me in a couple of weeks. So I do think this is going to be looking and feeling a little bit more like home soon. I wanted to start off the podcast on a high note by showing you guys one of my FOs. I finished this a while back and I have an entire video on my channel about it. I will link it in the cards above, but it is my costume that I made for the Taylor Swift concert. I put so much work into this costume and it truly is, to me, such a unique piece. I already wore it to my Eras tour day and it was so much fun. I got so many compliments on the costume, and also Taylor Nation, which is Taylor's team, noticed my costume, which is always a win. So I am overall really excited with how it came out. And this one was definitely a bit of a grind. If you watch my other video, you'll get to see a lot more of the process of me making it, but it was a pretty long process, just in that I had to knit the entire base tank top and then I had to knit tons and tons of leaves and seam them together and put them on the tank top. So it was a bit of a long process, but I think worth it in the end. That costume is the only FO I've had since my last podcast episode, so nothing too crazy, but I am excited just to have a single thing to show you guys as a little bit of a slower knitter or someone who doesn't have so much time to knit. But now we can move on to the next segment, which is works in progress or whips. I have a couple of updates here, some of which are not very happy. And if you follow me on TikTok or on Instagram or anything, you might know about the situation already. But actually, while I was moving into my new apartment, I believe that I lost a couple of whips, which I am so sad about. The good news is they are whips that I feel like are not quite as devastatingly heartbreaking to lose. I had just completed my costume for the Eras tour, and so I didn't really have any active projects going on for quite a while, just in that I was dealing with the stress of moving, and I just finished up my costume, which had taken so many hours and I'd spent so many late nights on it, so I feel like I just needed a little bit of a break from knitting. And so after I had taken a few days off from knitting, and while I was in the process of moving, I decided I wanted to just take a couple of projects in a bag with me in the front of our U-Haul so that I could maybe work on them. I brought two projects that I wanted to kind of pick back up in the near future. It was my midsummer dancer socks, which are funnily like one of my most viral posts on Instagram. I'm not sure why, but it was those which I actually honestly had to pull out and redo a bit of them anyways. So I was kind of not really looking forward to knitting on them again anyways. It was those, and then it was a few pieces of my beekeeper's quilt, which is my biggest project of all time. I'm just making a quilt that has a ton of these small hexagons. And for the beekeeper's quilt, I've been working on that one for a few years. However, the actual project bag that I brought with me in the U-Haul only had a couple of completed hexagons and then some yarn and of course some needles to work on more hexagons. So long story short, that bag went missing. I think that when I was taking things out of the U-Haul, I just brought most of my bags that were in the front seat and then sort of neglected to bring out that last tote bag that had my knitting projects in it, and went to just like bring things out of the back of the U-Haul and just totally forgot about the front. I did call U-Haul and let them know that I lost the bag, and they said they would look for it and like, call me back if they found it. However, they didn't call me back, so I'm pretty sure they didn't find it, and I'm pretty sure that I just lost it. I do feel pretty silly for this mistake, but at the end of the day, life is life, things happen, and I'm sure that plenty of people have similar stories to me in terms of losing knitting projects, and mine is definitely not the most devastating. I think that if I had lost like a sweater or anything kind of like of a bigger scale, I would have been really sad. And also for the beekeeper's quilt, even though that is a bigger scale project, I only lost a couple of the hexagons that I had already completed, so I didn't lose like all of my work by any means. So at the end of the day, I feel like I just need to be thankful that I didn't lose more or a bigger project, and I definitely will be even more careful in the future when it comes to carrying knitting around, because I definitely don't want to lose another knitting project ever again. On that sad note, I do want to show you guys a new whip that I just cast on. I am using this absolutely gorgeous Arcane Fiberworks yarn that I recently got. I talked about this yarn in my recent yarn haul that I did, and this is the color Spirit of Spring. I decided to start on another pair of socks because I feel like things have just not been going my way when it comes to socks. Even before I had lost my Midsummer Dancer socks, I had to pull them out and redo them a couple of times. And the bad news is I think I need to frog a little bit of this pair of socks that I'm currently working on. But just to show you guys, so I am making not quite the exact same sock pattern that I made last time. Last time I was making the Midsummer Dancer socks, which are the lace version, and I had some problems with the lace where it was kind of like stretched out over my heel and I didn't love how it looked. So for this pair of socks, especially because this is also a variegated yarn, I decided I wanted to just do the Midnight Dancer socks, which is a variation of the pattern. Both patterns are from Sorry Norland, by the way. And this is just a variation where it just has a ruffle and then the rest is like a pretty basic, simple sock and doesn't have any lace on it. So I decided I wanted to make this, and as you can see, I just turned to the heel and have been knitting on the foot a little bit. However, I just tried this on and realized that I think I made the leg a little bit longer than I wanted. I wanted to be able to wear these socks just with loafers and have it look kind of cute, so I wanted it to be a little bit of a shorter leg, and I think that I just stupidly knit a little bit longer than I should have. This is one of those things where I've been knitting on this project a lot, kind of in moments where I'm not quite as focused, especially like on transit and occasionally during work meetings if I don't need to talk or like contribute too much. So I haven't been like as mindful when it comes to this project in terms of making sure that this fit is perfect and everything is the way that I want it. So I think I just kind of like lost focus and knit a bit longer than I should have and was like, okay, this will be fine. But then I went ahead and tried it on now that I turned the heel, and I think it's a little bit too long. So I'll probably just frog the heel as well as maybe like an inch of this plain stockinette on the leg, and I think I'll be back in business. But I really like how this is coming out. I think that the variegated yarn is really fun, and this is just a fun little mindless project. I just wanted a project that would be a little bit less stressful, as well as something that I can work on my commute. Since now that I moved back to the city, I've been going into the office a little bit more. So this project has been pretty perfect to fit that use case. Okay, the last project that I have to talk about is something that I haven't quite started yet, but I just got the yarn in the mail for it, so I did want to bring it up in this podcast episode, and I'm guessing in the next podcast episode I'll probably be working on it. So first of all, I want to say a quick apology to anyone who's been waiting for my two patterns that I'm working on to come out. It is the Groovy Tank and the Heartless top, and just to be honest, I haven't been the most focused on these, as you can probably tell since it's been like several months since I made these designs, and I still haven't released the patterns or done a testing call or anything. I don't have that many excuses. The truth is, things were a little bit chaotic with moving for me for a bit, but also I have just been putting off working on these patterns because I have not really seen it as like a fun use of my time, whereas knitting to me is a lot more fun and relaxing. So I do really want to get back on these patterns and hopefully do a testing call soon for you guys, but I just need to like get myself to do it. I am hoping to work on it this weekend actually, and I'm hoping that I can get the Heartless top to a tech editor soon because I'm getting pretty close to being done with it. That being said, the project that I am going to hopefully be working on next is another Heartless top. I just got this yarn in the mail. It is Dream in Color Classy in the color Lavender Bloom, and I had been picturing in my head like a lavender version of the Heartless top for a while. I actually photoshopped like a picture of it to see what it would look like, and I was like, this is what I want to do next in terms of the Heartless top. Like I want to make another one and just like use it to kind of hammer out the pattern and maybe make some tutorials for how to do certain parts of the pattern that I think are a little bit trickier. So I had been picturing a lavender version in my head for so long, and I finally got around to looking for yarn for it, and I was really struggling to find the right color of yarn. A lot of yarn companies have purple, but they'll have like darker purple or lighter purple. Just like nothing was quite fitting exactly the color that I saw in my mind. But I came across this color from Dream in Color, and it is just completely perfect. It is exactly what I pictured, and I'm really excited to get started on it. So I'm hoping that in the next podcast episode, I will have some updates for you guys in terms of the pattern as well as my own second version of the top. But that's where I am with that work in progress. That is it for my knitting updates for you guys. We do have one more segment in this podcast, which is me talking about just TV shows and media that I've been enjoying lately, and I have a couple of things to talk about for this episode. First of all, I watched this TV show when I was working on my tank top for the Eras tour. I watched the first season of The Summer I Turned Pretty, and I haven't gotten the chance to watch the second season yet, but I think that just recently came out, so I will definitely get on watching that soon. I only think it'll take me a couple of days or so. It's very much more of a YA show, at least the first season was. I think the second season gets a little bit more serious and delves into some more like difficult topics, but I still think it was a fun show to watch. It's a really good one if you're just looking for a show with a couple of seasons that you're going to be able to finish quickly. And I just seen so many people on Twitter talking about it that I just wanted to know what all the hype was about. Everyone's like Team Conrad or Jeremiah, and so I finally just got around to watching it. On a similar note, in terms of shows that have love triangles with two brothers, I also have been watching The Vampire Diaries. This is just a funny one. You guys know that I like sort of these like supernatural CW style shows because I watched Supernatural literally all of last year. I think these are just fun. Sometimes you just want a show that is so like out of this world in terms of the things that are happening in it that it just will like completely take you out of reality, and I think that both Supernatural and The Vampire Diaries are really good at accomplishing that, and that's kind of where I am in life right now. With the move and everything that's been like so stressful lately, sometimes I just want to sit down and watch a TV show and not think about my life whatsoever. So The Vampire Diaries has been a great way to accomplish that. I'm currently on season 5, I think. My friend actually recommended The Vampire Diaries to me, and she said that it is like the perfect show to watch during fall. But with the current rate that I'm watching it, I'm not sure how much I'm gonna have left by fall. I might actually be done by then. So I am trying to slow down a little bit just so I have a little bit to watch in like September and October, hopefully. But that has been a fun show. I also think that if you have watched Supernatural and The Vampire Diaries, you can kind of see a lot of parallels in them. Maybe that's just me because I know that they're from the same network, but to me, especially with Stefan and Damon and comparing that to sort of the relationship between Dean and Sam, you can see a lot of sort of similarities and ways that they handle certain topics in the show. And I think it's really funny to kind of compare and contrast the two relationships as well as the characters in the different shows and see these sort of funny similarities. I have really just been enjoying watching that show and not having to think about anything too much. It's been a fun time. On a totally different note, I did want to try and start including some YouTubers or podcasters who I've been watching and listening to in this segment of my podcast, especially when it comes to other fiber arts YouTubers. I just thought it would be fun for me to kind of like shout out a new person in each episode of my podcast and talk about who I've been watching lately. And for this time, first of all, if you guys have been subscribed to me or watched a lot of my videos, you probably know that I'm friends with Emma, aka Made in the Moment. They are just this super cool fiber artist who does both crochet and knitting and also like is very involved with the fiber arts community online. And she just came up with a totally separate channel where she is talking about crochet and other general fiber arts related drama. And I have just been loving those videos so much. I feel like there is always so much drama within the fiber arts community, and I don't think that it should necessarily be looked at in like a sensationalized way, but the way that Emma has made her videos, it's really not sensationalized. It's more of just kind of like laying out the drama and talking about what has happened, and sometimes it's not even drama so much as like legal situations and things that companies have done. And it's really interesting and informative. Her second channel is called Emma in the Moment, so I will link that down below and you guys can totally go check them out. I have watched all of her videos since she came out with it, but I just recently watched the Hobby Lobby video talking about all of the crazy things that that company has done. And I knew a little bit of it, but it was just absolutely crazy to see all these different facts laid out and just like how many things that company has kind of gotten away with. So that is it for my media segment as well as my general podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video and hanging out with me. If you are new to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you gave me a subscribe, and whether you're new or not, you can also turn on the subscription bell to be notified every time I post. I am trying to be more consistent, but I typically post once a week on Wednesdays. And if you enjoyed this video, you'll probably enjoy my other podcast episodes as well as some of my other videos. So I would appreciate it if you checked out my channel and gave me a subscribe. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!